Hi, and welcome to this recording of information for the Skills Impact Food and Beverage Processing Project Public Consultation Draft 2. My name is Danny McDonald, and I'm a Project Manager at Skills Impact. And with me today is Jenny Oldfield, our Training Package Content Specialist.
Hi, everybody.
Today, we'll be taking you through some of the changes that have been made to the documents in this project that are now available for review and feedback on the Skills Impact website. Please note that this presentation today does not go through information that has been provided earlier in this project, such as information about who Skills Impact is or how training packages are developed. If you're new to this project and would like to see this information, or if you'd just like a bit of a refresher, please refer to the first video created for this project. A link will be available in the description below and on the Skills Impact website. So, we'll start off with a quick recap of the scope of the project and a rundown of what has happened so far, and then we'll get into a bit of detail about the changes that have been made and what is proposed for this second draft. The scope of this project includes the certificates 1, 2 and 3 in food processing and food processing sales, and all of the units within those qualifications. And when we're reviewing these documents, we're taking into account key changes to the food processing industry, things like changes to the Food Standards Code and the increasing importance of skills around allergens and traceability. So far for this project, we've done the following. We've conducted a survey of registered training organisations, or RTOs, to get their feedback on how they are currently using the qualifications and to get some input into how they think the qualifications could be improved. We then held workshops with subject matter experts, SMEs, for each of the sector areas covered by the project to review the units of competency relevant to those sectors and to identify any skills gaps in those areas. A combined SME workshop was then held to discuss the qualifications in more detail and to figure out core units that would be suitable for all of the various types of job roles and workplaces covered by the qualifications. Drafts were then developed based on all of this information, and during February and March of this year, public consultation workshops and webinars took place around the country to present these drafts to the public and to gather feedback from stakeholders on whether or not they thought the drafts were fit for purpose. A summary of all of the feedback received during this phase of the project and the responses to this feedback is available on the Skills Impact website. Based on the feedback received from this public consultation phase, some additional updates and changes have been made, and some new components have been created. These new and updated documents are now available for this second public consultation phase. So, what is available in this second phase? We have updated drafts for all three qualifications, so the Certificate 1, 2 and 3 in food processing. We've created 2 additional new skill sets. There's some new food-specific good manufacturing process, or GMP, units. There's new edible oils units, a newly proposed merged cleaning and sanitizing unit that we'd like some specific feedback on. And then there's updates in units based on stakeholder feedback. We've also got units that were initially flagged for deletion in the first draft that have been reinstated based on requests from stakeholders. And we'll also run through the list of units that are still proposed for deletion. And lastly, we have some draft content for you for the companion volume implementation guide that supports the food, beverage and pharmaceutical training package. All of these draft documents are available to view on the Skills Impact website. The link is available on the slide now and in the description below. In addition to the draft documents, on the website you will also find a mapping document that provides detailed information about the proposed changes. We do want to reiterate though that not all units of competency that are in the scope of this project require feedback during this Draft 2 consultation phase, so only documents requiring additional stakeholder input have been included in this draft. However, drafts of the other documents are still available to view on the Skills Impact website, and everything will be available to review again during validation. I'll now hand you over to Jenny, who will talk through the documents available for Draft 2 in a bit more detail.
On to the Certificate 1 in Food Processing. This is an introductory qualification that provides a pathway into working in the food processing industry. People with this qualification would always work under supervision. In draft 1 of this project, we proposed deleting this qualification, and the feedback that we received told us that it's referred to in a couple of food processing industrial awards, and also that the alternative qualification that we proposed would not be deliverable in some contexts. So we've reinstated the Certificate 1 in Food Processing. It's a bit different to the previous version. It includes a core food safety unit, which seems to be appropriate for the context. But because of that changed core, it's not equivalent to the previous version. So our questions to you are, is the qualification suitable for all sectors of food processing at this introductory level? Are the core units right? Are there any elective units missing? And are the outcomes fit for purpose?
Okay, now the second qualification that we have to look at is the Certificate 2. So again, we've made some changes to this draft of the qualification. Just a reminder that this person would work in an operational role, but still under supervision. So we've added a new Good Manufacturing Practice unit or GMP unit to the core of this qualification. So that means that this proposed version now has 5 core units of competency and 8 electives. And we've added some additional units to the elective bank based on your feedback. So again, what we're asking you to have a look at or have a think about is whether the core units are suitable, whether they're the right core units, and whether all the elective units are appropriate. Green text in these versions that you look at in this draft, the green notes are explanatory, and there's a notes column that sits beside the units of competency just to explain the background of that unit really, and whether the changes are major. Some of the unit codes have changed, and so we've just listed what the unit code was in the previous version, just so that you know you can keep track of where the units have come from, really. So on to the Certificate 3 in Food Processing. So again, we've made some changes to this qualification. And again, just to reiterate that this qualification is for those who would work in an operational role. People in this role can work independently, and they would usually be doing some basic problem solving through their work. In this new draft of the qualification, we're proposing that the qualification has 5 core units. We've taken out the control contaminants and allergens in food processing unit and replaced it with a new GMP unit based on your feedback. And we'll come back to talk about that GMP unit a little bit later. Because allergens were such a major driver for this project and are so important, we've strengthened the references to allergens and allergens risks and risk management through several units in this project. And we've also added in a couple of new specialisations. So we've added in a new optional bottling and packaging specialisation and a new distilling specialisation. And we've also added some new units in cold pressed olive oils that weren't there previously. And we've also added another unit to the stock feed specialisation to cover the production of fish feed. There are some new additional elective units in the elective bank, and there are some updates to the application and the packaging rules. So again, have a look through this qualification. Think about whether the core units are the right units for the core. Have a think about whether the units in the specialisations are suitable. Think about whether there are any units missing from the specialisations. Do the units of competency listed in the qualification reflect the knowledge and skills required to perform work in a larger food processing site? And is there anything missing? Are there any units of competency missing from either the specialisations or the elective bank? We've included 2 new skill sets in this draft. Both of them are introductory, and so feedback through the last draft told us that RTOs were delivering a couple of suites of units. They were both slightly different to each other, but they were both introductory to food processing work. So those 2 skill sets are there for you to have a look at: food processing induction and introduction to food processing. Again, we're asking, have a think about whether the units of competency that they include are suitable. Are they the right ones? And let us know. So you've probably picked up by now that we've included in this draft 2 new good manufacturing process or GMP units of competency. One is at AQF level 2 and the other at AQF level 3. These units are loosely based on the units that were existing for the pharmaceutical industry, but we've reworked them so that they're more appropriate for food processing. So have a look at those units and think about, do the units of competency accurately reflect the skills and knowledge needed to perform these tasks in a large food processing facility? Is the language right? Are the steps in the units accurate? Are they in a logical order? Is the assessment reasonable? And are the units at the right AQF level? In particular, with these units, have a look at the performance evidence and the knowledge evidence just to make sure that they're a good fit with food processing. There are 4 new edible oils units, and these units are really about cold pressed olive oil, whereas the units that were there in the previous draft are really about refining oils. So 4 new units there, and again we're asking you to have a good look at these units if this is your area. Particularly have a good look at the performance evidence and the knowledge evidence of these units, just to make sure that all the information is appropriate and accessible. Again, with these units, the key questions are, do they reflect the skills and knowledge needed to perform these tasks in a large food processing facility? Is the language used appropriate? Are the steps that the units cover in the right order? Is the assessment reasonable? And are the units at the correct AQF level? We've combined 2 cleaning units in this draft because the feedback that we received on the last draft that there was a lot of duplication between these 2 units, clean equipment in place and clean and sanitize equipment. So we've created a new merged unit, which is called clean and sanitize food processing equipment. So what we'd like you to think about with these units is, do you agree that there's a lot of duplication between the units and that the units should be merged? Or do you believe that there are actually 2 separate tasks, 2 separate job tasks around cleaning, and therefore that there should be 2 separate units? So we'd just like you to think about that. So included in this draft on the website are the merged unit, clean and sanitized food processing equipment, and the 2 units from the earlier draft. And we'd really like to know which is the best way to go. Should the units be merged or should they be included as separate units? Now we're on to units with other updates. In the previous version, we proposed merging 2 brewing units, and feedback was that merge didn't really fit the work very well. So we've separated those units back to 2 independent units. And then there are 4 units that have had title changes and had the codes changed to update the AQF level. And the first two on that list have also had a sector code change. So they were operational units, OPR units. They've been changed to BPG, which is bottling and packaging. Other units with updates include the unit called Develop an Allergen Management Program. That unit has been completely restructured based on feedback from subject matter experts. And then there's a list of units that have had the references to allergen management strengthened throughout. So again, although we don't have an allergen unit included in the core of these qualifications, there are a number of units that have had references within them strengthened around allergens. And lastly, there's a retail baking unit that's had a very minor change in the knowledge evidence. So what we're asking about these units, all of these units that have had updates, is do you support the changes? In the first draft, there are a number of units that we were proposing for deletion because of very low or no enrolments, and feedback around some of those units was that we shouldn't delete them, we should reinstate them. So there's a list of units there of units that have been reinstated. Again, the questions around these units are they appropriate for delivery in a large food processing facility? Is the language used in the unit appropriate? Are the steps described in the units accurate? Are they in the right order? And is the assessment reasonable? And then there's a list of units that are still proposed for deletion. So these are units that have got either very, very low or no enrolments over the last 5 years. So this is really your last chance to tell us whether you think that these should be deleted or if they should be reinstated. Through the consultation, we received a bit of feedback around some issues around delivery and some issues around covering content in delivery around food allergens. So what we've done is we've drafted up some material that will be added to the training package companion volume implementation guide. And so we're putting that content out for consultation during this draft for you to have a look at. And there's a list of the headings on the screen. So again, this is just information that will be added to the companion volume to help inform delivery around these issues.
Thanks for that, Jenny. One last thing to let you all know about is that some units of competency that were included in the original scope of this project have been moved on to other projects. Units specifically relating to flour milling and production baking have been flagged for inclusion in projects that have been proposed in the latest FBP-IRC Skills Forecast 2020 annual update. These new projects are currently with the department for consideration, and we hope to have some news about them in the coming months. In the meantime, please note the units listed in the table here have been taken out of the Food and Beverage Processing Project. Now that you've had a bit of a rundown on what has changed for this second draft, we would like to encourage you to have a look at the updated documents and let us know your thoughts on the changes, both what needs work and what looks good. Feedback for this phase closes on July 17, 2020. You can let us know your thoughts via email or through the Skills Impact Feedback Hub. You can find all of the drafts for this phase on the Skills Impact website. The link is on the slide now and in the description below. On the website, you will find a copy of this video and all of the documents that we have referred to today. Further down the page, you will find a quick guide for how to use the Feedback Hub to give your feedback on the new draft documents. And in this same section, you will also find links to register for webinars that are being held during this consultation phase. These webinars will go through the content covered in this video, but it's also an opportunity for you to ask us in person any questions that you may have that are related to these drafts. Your attendance at these webinars is most welcomed. And finally, the draft documents themselves. These can be found by clicking the grey boxes. Click on the header to reveal the documents for that section. So for example, here are the draft qualifications for review. You will notice we have included a short summary explaining the changes made to the document for this draft. To view the draft and provide your feedback on the Feedback Hub, click on the link to the right and the document will open in a new tab. Alternatively, back on the website, at the top of each section on the project page is a link where you can download the documents in Word format and then email your feedback directly to the project team. And just a reminder that your comments will be anonymously included in a publicly available feedback summary document as part of this project. Our next steps for this project are to gather and review the feedback on these additionally proposed changes so that the relevant documents can be updated to form our validation drafts. Your feedback, comments, suggestions, they're all welcome at any time. Contact details for the project team are available on the screen now. You can keep up to date on the progress of this project by visiting the project page on the Skills Impact website, and if you haven't already, we recommend you sign up for the Skills Impact newsletter to keep up to date on this and all other projects that Skills Impact is currently undertaking. Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to receiving your feedback.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.